lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
No beam lit tonight. The Kings fall in overtime, 131 to 128. The Kings ended the fourth quarter on a really nice 22-9 run to force overtime. They got some breaks when R.J. Barrett missed free throws, including 2 in overtime, that allowed the Kings to have a game-tying attempt. But this story tonight, Ryan, I look at one statistic and one statistic only. Kings three-point shooting, Raptors three-point shooting. And De'Aaron Fox couldn't put the ball in the ocean tonight. He was 0 of 11 from three-point land.
Yeah, tough way to go. He was good from inside the arc, but
Yes.
outside the arc. It's a great point, the three-point shooting, Grant. I'm going to throw another one at you. Assist to turnover ratio, absolutely awful tonight, 21 to 18, Napes.
Yep, very important. I think that's a very key statistic. All right, so I'm going to ask you this. De'Aaron Fox clearly struggling with his perimeter shot.
Yeah.
Why is he taking so many shots then?
Well, you got to take him if you're open. I'm not seeing too many bad shots from him here and there, not nearly as many as last year, Grant, but you got to keep the defense honest, and Mike Brown's been very obvious about it. Take it if you have it.
Bad loss, Ryan. You know, the Raptors came into this game 1-5, okay?
Yeah.
They were 1-5 entering this game, and they just beat the Kings, who now fall back to 500 at 3-3 with one road game remaining. Now, listen, if the Kings go and win in South Florida, this is a very good road trip. You go 3-1 on the road, I don't care who you're playing, that's a good road trip. But now you got to go and beat Miami.
You definitely do. I don't see it the same way as you, as a bad loss. It just felt like they couldn't really get over the hump tonight, but damn it, the effort was there. This game would have been a blowout last season. They fought.
Yeah.
Long travel, jersey retirement for Vince Carter,
Yep.
goofy night. Seems like a scheduled loss coming into it, Napes, and yet here we are, 3-point game in overtime.
Okay, here's why I characterized it as a bad loss, and you just made some really good points. This is the first time this year, and I know we're only talking about 6 games, that the Kings lost to a team that they're better than. I mean, can we just agree that the Kings are a better team than the Raptors?
Absolutely. Hands down.
Okay. I don't know if the Kings are better than Minnesota, so I'm okay with that 2-point loss. I don't know if they're better than the Lakers. I'm not okay with the way they lost the game, but I don't lose sleep over that other than the fact that it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
But the other games the Kings have won this year, they beat teams that they're better than. They're better than Utah, right? They're better than Atlanta. They're better than Toronto, but they lost to Toronto tonight. That's the only reason why I say it's a bad loss.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, Grant. If this is a night where the Kings are rested, it's a road game as normal, it's not a back-to-back with a weird travel, then I'm with you. And I'll throw this in too. Toronto played last night, as you said, and they're injured. You're without Scotty Barnes.
That's right.
But for whatever
Go ahead.
whatever reason, I don't put this one in the categories that we put the Detroits in last year.
I agree with that.
This team was lucky to have a chance tonight just due to the circumstances.
They did not have Kevin Huerter, so coach started Doug McDermott. He only played 15 minutes. You know, this was a game when he really went to his bench. Malik Monk played 38 minutes, had 21 points. Keon Ellis, 26. I know the game went to overtime, so I get that. But we keep hearing about Mike Brown talk about the minutes for the starters.
Yeah.
Sabonis, DeRozan, and Fox played 43 minutes tonight. So even if you take the overtime out, they played 38. That's too many minutes for these guys on a second night of a back-to-back. I'm just telling you that those numbers need to come down a little bit, Ryno.
Well, Grant, it speaks to the depth of this team. He's going to play a shorter rotation, but the problem is when you get in a pinch without a Kevin Herter, where do you
Yep.
go for that 9th, 10th guy? You don't have it.
No.
And so it's a tough place to be for him right now, but there's no way that these guys are going to, as you said, keep up these minutes at this pace. It's
No.
not going to happen.
McLaughlin only played 5 minutes in this game, so the coach doesn't have a lot of confidence in him, it appears. You have Keon Ellis, he has confidence in Monk. Lyles continues to try to find his game. But hey, we've given you our thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Give us a call.
Get in here. Who's going to kick us off tonight? Michael is going to kick us off tonight. Michael, you're leading off. You're on with Grand Ryno.
Well, how are you guys doing?
Okay,
Well,
buddy.
Yeah, I thought the game was it's a bit of a closer game. I think they're better than last year in terms of I think more competitive. I think they were more competitive so far. I've seen more close games this year than last year already. I think that's 3 already. These 3 losses were, I don't know, 4 points, 2 points, and now 2 points. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's a special for the Raptors. I think it's been a special day for them to remember. I think Vince Carter absolutely deserves to have his jersey retired. He's been a absolute professional. He was part of the team.
No question about that. Absolutely.
Might be
I
for the
think-
portion that I saw the best jersey retirement ceremony I've ever seen.
I think
Yeah,
so.
without question.
I watched it and my gosh, that was a good one. And I don't think there's any question Kyle Lowry or DeRozan will be up next, joining Vince Carter. There's no question about it.
I agree with
And
you.
I think
they will.
and there's no championships. The Raptors don't win championships without Lowry. There's reason.
Very
He's
true.
the heart and soul.
Very true.
And I know, by the way, the game, it was a great game, but the De'Aaron Fox, 0 of 11. I think he's trying to maybe do something. I'm not sure.
We could make it. I guess the conversation, Michael and Grant, can be, is it with the finger? As a basketball player, at least through college, usually when you're shooting the ball, it's mostly here on these 3 fingers. These 2 here are not as affected. But the bigger problem I have is the turnovers. He's averaging 4 per game coming into tonight. Tonight he has 5.
Gotta cut it down maybe to at least 2, maybe at least cut it at least to half. And then, I saw the ending though. I thought it appears that when I saw the replay, it looked like the ball was tipped though in the final possession. I didn't see I was so surprised the referee didn't see that, review it. Maybe they got a better view. I'm not sure what it is.
Look, the refs let him play physical pretty much all
at
night.
least,
You saw that on both ends, and you got
Absolutely.
Davion and De'Aaron who know each other so well.
That
was fun to
Davion.
watch. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Davion. That was a good one. Davion, a former
Absolutely.
Sacramento, playing against De'Aaron Fox, who he knows a lot. He's played well.
Yes. Hey,
You know?
Michael, thanks for kicking it.
These 2 teams play again in 2 more games from now.
I think next week, I believe they play.
That's right. They go to Miami and then they come home and they play Toronto again.
Yeah. And Miami is a place that is typical nightmare for Sacramento. But let's see if we can get win there. I think that would be the 8th only time win ever in Miami. It's rare to get a win in Miami.
Yeah, they don't play very well there. There's no question about that.
Even
Michael, thanks
Weber
for
and
the call.
Vlade, they struggled.
Yeah, no question. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks,
you.
Michael. We'll get into this in a second. A lot in the chat about Coach Brown, and I think there's a little meat on that bone. Didn't call a couple of timeouts. You can look at maybe the rotation, who was on the floor at the end of the game and the start of overtime. But first, let's go to Zach. Welcome in. You're on with Grant and Ryno.
Yo, I swear to God that okay, Ryan. I know you're 40, right, Ryan?
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Okay. So that game literally reminded me of 2K. I don't know if you ever played 2K when you were younger. I know you're 40, so maybe like 10, 15 years ago or so. But that game, for real, reminded me of a 2K game where you're you're in the game, and every time you get close, the team always has an answer for you. Regardless, no matter how good of defense you play. Like Grady Dick, Abaji, Yaga Pirtle on the boards, the whole team always had an answer whenever they got within 2-3 points, and it was just ridiculous.
Michael or Zach, excuse me, I see it a little bit different. The two big plays, the Grady runner or the Grady Dick runner, and then the Grady
Yep.
Dick 3. De'Aaron Fox gambled on both of those plays.
Yes, he did. He
and
gambled on the
overplayed
layup.
them.
That's a great point you just made. He gambled on the floater, big time on that, and he came up empty, and it allowed Grady Dick to penetrate with the little teardrop. That's a good point, Ryan. He did gamble.
So I'll give the Raptors credit, but there was some self-inflicted wounds there.
Correct.
Zach.
And I know, like, we like to say, like, like at the back of the back or whatever. But, it's like they were without Emmanuel quickly and their star, Scotty Barnes. We were only missing Herter. I don't think it really cancels out. I think we still had the advantage.
You did, but, I mean, you're on the road. Both teams played last night. The Kings had to travel, and the Kings starters are playing a lot of minutes early in the season, and maybe it had an impact in overtime. I don't know. All I know is De'Aaron Fox went 0 of 11 from 3. That's just that speaks volumes.
It's tough to swallow. Yeah.
And the turnovers that Ryan talks about, that's also something that can't be ignored.
I don't know if I really want Fox continue to shoot the 3 if he's going to shoot that badly. I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe just try to do more sparingly, somewhat within the flow of the game. Look for just open shots. Once you can start hitting those, then maybe you can start getting more crafty. But for now, like, I really don't want to see De'Aaron Fox chucking up 10, 11 threes a game.
It's too many.
I know one thing, he's not on his way to making first, second, or third all NBA team, which is what he's set out to do. Based on the first 6 games, he's got no chance of that happening.
Definitely. And hey, guys, I just want to say, my bad for last night. I was just kind of emotional about the game, and I would like to appreciate you guys like not dropping me off after I was flying off on you guys. The way I was acting, I mean, I'm a college student, so sometimes I act like
It's all
that.
good, man. We all have our moments.
Good,
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
But hey, you guys have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks,
Take
Zach.
care.
Look at that, Napes. Look at Zach.
I appreciate his input. Even when I don't agree with him, I appreciate when he takes the time to call the show, just like
Absolutely.
I appreciate others that take the time to call. We would love to hear from you. There's a lot of areas you can point at tonight. I look at three-point shooting. Ryan made a very good observation. The assist-to-turnover ratio was terrible. I'm also going to give some credit to the Toronto Raptors, okay? In 24 hours, a team that only has 1 win played the Lakers very hard last night and played very hard tonight to earn an overtime win, 131-128. And so I tip my hat to the Raptors, who don't have a lot of talent, relatively speaking, to the Kings, who had their best player out. And you talk about effort and playing hard. Wow, the Raptors certainly did that tonight.
No doubt. And they had a very, very excited crowd behind them. You got Vince Carter sitting straight there, center court. Grant, they're in a rebuild. We know that. You still have Scotty Barnes, but they're kind of at a fun point right now because you have guys that normally wouldn't be getting a ton of minutes, or at least the minutes they're getting, and not looking over their shoulder. So, of course, those guys are going to ball out and play hard. This is their opportunity to show out.
I need a rant with Grant, so give me some ideas. A rant with Grant, and I'll be providing that coming up in a little bit here on If You Don't Like That. Don't forget about New Works Plumbing. If you have a plumbing issue, you need a repair, New Works Plumbing is there for you 24/7. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. You can also go to newworksplumbing.com, whatever works for you, but sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. And again, they are available around the clock. Hey, Bennett's, right? What are you doing for brunch tomorrow? How about going to Bennett's? Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, make a reservation, get down to the Sacramento Roseville or the West Side Grill location. Prime seafood and steak, but tomorrow you'll love the brunch. Yes, indeed. Go down and enjoy yourself for a great brunch at Bennett's. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You won't be celebrating a Kings win, though, because they lose in overtime, 131-128.
It's okay. Win or lose, it's still a good excuse to go to Bennett's. You can get prime rib tomorrow night if you can't make it for brunch. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. You know, a couple of people talking about DeMar DeRozan's bad shot towards the end of the game. Without DeMar DeRozan, you get blown out in this game. Okay? I mean, I'm not getting on DeMar DeRozan. I'm just not.
In fact, I thought that was a pretty damn good look. That was a set play to get him into the corner,
Correct.
which relatively speaking, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but from the corners, he's pretty good. So I thought it was a good look.
I'm not getting on DeRozan. He has been outstanding for Sacramento in this early part of the season. Would you not agree?
Completely agree. He scored over 20 points in every game this season.
Yeah.
Grant, do you think he's going to fit?
Hey, and I'll tell you what else he's done. He's made the entire team a better free throw shooting team.
Amen. Contagious. Absolutely
Yeah.
contagious. Peter, welcome in with Grant and Ryno.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Got
Yes.
you loud and clear.
Awesome. Great broadcast. I love everything that you guys are doing. I've been following
Thank you.
since you started. But the one thing I noticed is the defense that Toronto put on them. I think it was the toughest defense I've seen a team place on the Sacramento Kings in a long time. Do you disagree?
Peter,
Go ahead, Ryno.
I was going to say, baseline to baseline, I agree with you. The pressure bothered the Kings.
Yes.
It really did. And I hope other teams don't watch this film. I hope this one gets slid away.
I agree. I was watching it, and maybe I'm wrong, and Grant, you can correct me, or Ryno, but I was like, I don't know what you do against this defense. They're smothering every pass that happens. And I was like, they can't get any flow to their offense. They're not going to get this back. And then when they got it close, I got excited, like, oh, they might squeak out a win here. And they couldn't do it.
I don't know. You might be giving them a little too much credit. I mean, I agree with you, and I thought Ryan's observation was good. Their baseline to baseline defense and the pressure on the ball. But there's a reason why they entered tonight's game with only one win. And with all of that said, the Kings still had 63 points at the half, okay?
Mhm.
And at the end of regulation, the Kings had 120 points. So they were still able to score the ball despite the defense that you're referring to.
What do you think was stopping the Kings from? Because I saw an offense that was lost mainly in the third quarter. They didn't know what to do. They came down the floor, and it looked like it was hot potato.
Yeah.
Throw whoever I could see. Did you guys see that? Because that's what
they got outscored 30-23 in that quarter. I hate to make excuses because every team does this, but this was a very difficult schedule game because they were in Atlanta last night. Long trip, everything else. Again, I know Toronto played, but they were at home, which makes a difference. It just seems to me the Kings were a little lethargic at times tonight and a little, for lack of a better term, tired. I saw that on.
Yeah.
I think the turnovers, Ryno, and the unforced turnovers is really what I'm pointing at there.
Grant, the unforced were bad. There were so many balls that were thrown away. Peter, I think the length, for whatever reason, of Jakob Poeltl really bugged Sabonis, and it bugged him with the initiating of the offense, which kind of made things clunky. I use the analogy at halftime that it's watching somebody drive a stick shift for the first time.
That's right.
It was just really weird.
I did hear that. That is correct. So, Grant, in your years watching the Kings, did you see a team where, let's say, the hot Kings back in the day, 2001, 2002, was there a team where you're like, man, they can't get anything going against this team?
Yes. I can't remember the team, but listen, when you play 82 games, you're going to have games where you don't play well, period. It happens to all teams in the league. It's just part of the NBA. And I chalk up tonight to a little bit of that. I don't think the Kings played poorly tonight. I didn't think they shot the ball particularly well from three, but I thought the Kings played well tonight. Yes, they had some turnover issues, but I don't think they stunk the joint out. They still were right there, and they had a chance to win the game. It's just one of these games. I don't really dwell. Ryan knows this, and if you're with me on all these shows, I don't really put too much stock and emphasis on a win, and I don't do it on a loss. I don't overreact to one game. I go in 5-game increments, and this is the second 5-game increment, and they're now 0-1. I gave the Kings for the first 5 games a B to a B minus.
Yep.
And right now, I can't grade them because they have 4 more games left. But I don't go by one game. I go by 5-game increments because I think you get a better read on a team that way.
No, I heard that, and I actually agree with you. I think you have to take it in increments. You can't go game by game, otherwise you're going to lose your mind.
Well, it's 82 game season. In the NFL, you can go game by game. All right, you can
Yeah.
do that. You
I
can't do
agree.
that in the NBA. And plus, you have injury situations, you have travel situations, you have schedule advantages and disadvantages. So there are a lot of factors that go into an NBA schedule. You got to be careful about making too much out of one game, win or loss.
No, so I watched the Portland game, right? And that's the one where DeMar, he couldn't miss his shot. He was just hitting everything. I'm like, man, this guy's going to be great for this team. Tonight, he still did really good, but he missed some shots. I didn't like those straightaway threes when he came across half court, caught the ball and shot it. And I could
Not his
see
forte.
Yeah.
what's that?
It's not his forte. It's not what he does best. He missed
Yeah.
5 of 7 tonight.
And they shouldn't expect that of him. And I felt like he thought he had to, I have to do this for this team. I didn't think that was a good shot for him. I like what he does for the team. You've already said it, the last win they had, where you're like, how good is this guy for this team? They won that night. I was like, yes, he's doing a good job for this team. He's doing something to relieve Fox a little bit. Do you see that?
100%. Absolutely. You see it across the board. Him, Fox, and Domas coming into this game, we're all averaging in the 20s. You have
Yes.
somebody else that demands the attention of the defense on the floor with you at all times. The Kings did not have that last year. And that's why you're seeing Domas's assist numbers go down, which I think is a good thing. You want him getting as many assists as possible, but you don't want the burn rate to go too high on him. And that was way too high on both players last year.
So there's less focus on those two guys, and now it's on DeRozan. And how does that affect, do you think, Fox and Sabonis, where now when it's not working for DeRozan,
It's a good problem to have. It's a really
Yeah.
good problem to have because you don't rely on one guy. And the other aspect of this is if you're a defensive coach and you're scouting the Kings and you're getting ready to play them, you have to come up with a really solid game plan because now you have offensive weapons in the 3 that you just mentioned, and we didn't even talk about Malik Monk yet.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It is. You really better come out with your lunch pail to play the Kings because they're going to score on you. I mean, they scored tonight. Their problem was they couldn't stop the other team enough.
So how do you create? So how did the Raptors create a defense plan that kind of negated everyone and they could keep coming back? Was it?
They didn't negate everyone. I think you're overreacting to this. They didn't negate everyone. Look at the box score. I mean,
No,
the Kings scored. Well, wait a minute. The Kings scored 63 points in the first half. Through 4 quarters, they had 120 points, and they ended up with 128. They weren't just totally negated. Fox did not shoot the ball well, and I give credit to Davion Mitchell and Dick for their defense. But, I mean, part of this was on the Kings. The Kings also missed an inordinate amount of open shots tonight, in my opinion. So I also don't look at just the other defense. I look, well, were the quality of shots good for the most part? I thought the quality of shots were pretty good for Sacramento. Ryan, did you have a problem with their shot selection tonight?
No, not overall. I didn't like the beginning of overtime. I thought the shot selection outside of Keon Ellis's spray 3, I thought it was bad at the beginning.
I thought it was very rushed.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
No,
that's
fine. That's what we're here for.
No. If I disagreed with you, I would say it, but I think they have a high-powered offense, judging by their 63 points in the first half. It's just they looked weird in the third quarter.
Yes, they did.
They were just lobbing the ball around. Like it looked like a high school team a couple of times.
I'm going to tell you what I think happened tonight in the third quarter. And I understand that both teams dealt with this. This was a very long halftime show. Okay? Very long. And the Kings, I'm just going to call it the way it is. They're a tired team tonight. And they had extended themselves in the first half to get back into the game at intermission after being down 11. And they had a long wait in the locker room. And it just, to me, took them too long to get going in the second half. I really believe that's part of what happened tonight.
It's a great point. It was supposed to go 25 minutes, ended up going about 35 minutes. And the Kings, they had a plan for it, but you still get 10 minutes on top of that. It's too
That's
much.
correct. It was
Well,
ridiculous.
the only thing that they had going for them is that they came back into the game. But the only good thing that the commentators said was, oh, that was a really long halftime. It's like, okay, I don't know what that means to me. Grant, can you explain for other listeners? What does that mean if there's a long halftime?
Well, it just means that your routine is completely different, and you got to do really stay on, not to tighten up. You just played last night. The guys played a lot of minutes. You flew for 3 hours. You know, you're dealing with everything, and you got to take care of your body during that long time. You can get tight. You know, you got to make sure you don't come out and pull a muscle and aggravate or get a strain. And, you know, it's the same for both teams, but I'm just saying that's part of it. Hey, listen, your call was excellent tonight. We've got other people we need to get to. Thank you very much, and call again, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Ryno.
Great job, Peter. Yeah. Basketball players, for those that don't know this, and Grant knows it all too well, are creatures of habit. You want to piss one off, throw a wrench in their routine.
And that happened tonight. And but just so you know, Toronto was in the locker room for a half hour too, not just the Kings.
Yeah, it very fair point. Let's go to Charles. Welcome on. You're with Grant and Ryno.
I feel like
hello.
First of all, thanks for having me. Very nice to see you, Grant and Ryno. How's your evenings going?
Good, thank you for calling. Thank you.
I have 2 questions for y'all tonight, if that's okay. My first question is it's about how we started Doug McDermott tonight. I understand that he had a very limited role, and to be honest with you, I didn't get to see much of him play, but I personally would have thought that Keon would start tonight, since considering that Kevin Huerter was out. But I just wanted to know what your guys' opinions was.
I didn't like it. I said I didn't like it at halftime. Ryan had no problem with it because of the spacing on the floor. Here's my opinion on Doug McDermott, and I'm not trying to be unkind, and I have nothing against him. Okay, he is a very limited player at this point in his career. He can only do one thing. Only one thing. He can only shoot. He can't play defense. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't do anything else. I mean, look at his box score tonight. He played 15 minutes. All right. He had 1 rebound,
4 points,
no assist, and he only took 2 shots and he made 1. That's 15 minutes of work. I'm sorry. You don't. Doug McDermott is a good guy to have on your team, but he shouldn't be starting, in my opinion. Ryan disagrees, and I'll let him tell you why. But we differ on this. Go ahead, Ryno.
Yeah, no, I was fine with it for the simple reason is it didn't change what the Kings wanted to do offensively. It keeps the same flow, because to me, Doug, the way he plays is almost interchangeable with Kevin. Now, Kevin does it at a much higher level than Doug. So I thought that that kept things as normal for the rest of the starters as possible, even though with light that they played with Keon throughout the preseason.
I just think they know how to play with Keon a lot better than they know how to play with Doug McDermott. I didn't like it. And again, I think the box score is reflective on that. I'm not saying that's why the Kings lost the game. They didn't lose the game because they started Doug McDermott. But I like familiarity. The other 4 guys know how to play with Keon because of the preseason. And Doug McDermott just got to the team a couple days before the first game. I just wasn't crazy about it. You know, Peter, do us a favor. Stop sending us direct messages, please. So I just didn't like it. I'm not saying that's why the Kings lost the game, but I don't like it.
I think to add on another point about the Doug McDermott thing, he also missed training camp, considering that he was such a last-minute signing. So you also have to factor that in as well.
Of course, you factor in a lot of things. But again, that's not the reason why the Kings lost the game tonight, in my opinion.
I totally agree with that. And then my second point, which you could probably point to one of the reasons they lost, you mentioned earlier about how we were missing all of our open shots and how Fox was 0 of 11, but I don't want to focus on Fox. You've brought this up a lot, Grant, in the past few streams about how Keegan Murray's inconsistency from shooting is really becoming a problem. And that's become very evident these past 2 games. We got away with it in Utah and Hawks simply because they're a much less talented team and they're both extremely banged up. But this game, I feel like, exposed that a little more.
Okay. Listen, He's not the first option on this team. He's not the second option on this team. He's not the third option on this team. And he's really not the fourth option when Malik Monk is in the game. His role is hard for me to explain because he plays such good defense every night. Would I like to see him become more consistent offensively? We all would. I'm not so sure with the way this offense works that he really gets in an opportunity to get into any type of a rhythm. Ryno, what do you think of that?
I think you nailed it. And to your point, Charles, yeah, it stuck out to me over the last 2 games because he's missed wide open looks. He was 2 for 6 from beyond the arc. So that is a fair point, Charles. Good job by you.
That's mainly what's concerning me, just seeing him miss all the open shots. But I understand there's other people that want to talk. So thank you for having me on the show, and have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate that. 131 to 128, the final. Before we go on, I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing and the newest residential community in Colusa. If you go to ColusaSunrise.com, you'll get all the information you need. This is a project from Blazona Development. Many models to choose from. Remember, at Sunrise Landing, there's no Melrose, there's no homeowners adjacent to the Colusa Golf and Country Club. Good access to I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20. Check out Sunrise Landing. You get all the information at ColusaSunrise.com. So happy to get all the calls tonight. We really enjoy it, even though it's a tough night to talk.
Amen. We will be here to talk with you. You keep the calls coming. We'll stay here. We got no plans.
Yes, indeed.
Baky, what's up, buddy?
Baky, how are you?
Yeah, hi. For me, it's a really tough loss. Sometimes the numbers are not showing you the real thing and what exactly happens on the court, but this time numbers are a great arrow to show you what happened tonight. And I like when somebody hits the target, and Ryno did it this time straight on the first word. So statistics, okay. I mean, you guys already know, but I'm gonna just tell you something which I think I've never seen in my life in one. So let's stick to the assists. So you have four guys playing from the bench, and 3 of them have zero assists on the game. One of them, Malik Monk, has 4, and from the starters there is 0, 1, 2, 4, and Sabonis with.
Okay, was that because they were bad passes, or was it because the guy they threw the ball to missed an open shot?
No, you don't have, Grant. You don't have passes this game. You don't have it at all.
Okay. So I mean, you can't get an assist if a guy. You can't make it an assist if a guy misses the shot.
Sorry.
You can't have an assist if the player that you pass the ball to misses the shot.
Yes, absolutely. But okay, let's forget how many shots. They didn't deserve to get that far in this game, if you want my opinion, because the statistic will show you all this. DeRozan again cold first, then got hot, and the others, I don't know. That's why Ryno hits the target in the heart. But in the same time, you are 100% right about saying this game is a bad loss, because why is a bad loss? With all the credits for the Raptors, from my side, all the fight, all the energy they brought, their game was top of the paint, a few pick and rolls, Barrett on the strength and shooting the threes after fast passing from Davion Mitchell, and that's all. That's why they are 1-5. Their game is a mess, but
that's why it's a bad loss. Energy. You just hit it right on the head. That's why it's a bad loss, because you lost to a team that had 1 win and 5 losses. You're right.
You are in the role with the 3 games, and you should get this one like some like routine, something like that. But you came very, very poor in the game. Your start is very, I mean, bad start for the game, and then you are trailing. Whenever you try to catch something, you get some run with the 6, with 8, with something like that, and of course they are hitting you with the threes. They are bombing from all over the place. I mean, I don't like the game from Raptors, but what Kings did tonight, it's not only fourth quarter. It's a quality. It's fluid. But there is no ball movement like you have when Mike Brown, the first year, he was the coach of the year because his team was moving the ball great. Maybe the best ball moving in the league that year, two years ago. But this is nothing but individual play. We had DeRozan. There is nothing from Fox. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like this kind of game to play.
Fair enough. And we appreciate your comments. Thank you very much, Baky. You have a good one. All right. You take care.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
Baky.
you,
Hope
buddy.
Tedora is feeling better, by the way, too. Send her our
Yes.
best.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please
Yes.
tell her
Thanks,
we're
buddy.
thinking of her. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
I thought Ian nailed it, and Baky got to it a little bit, too. The ball movement just was not there. Just was not there.
I
But
didn't
it's...
think yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a trade-off because you got DeRozan cooking, and he ISOs. So
That's his game. That's how he plays.
Yep.
It's a different style of Kings basketball that we're watching this year. It
Bingo.
doesn't mean that's not effective. It's just different.
Bingo. Excellent point. Jay, welcome in tonight.
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Hey, how are you, Jay?
Good.
I'm all right. I was listening to the halftime show, and I wanted to save my thoughts for after this game. I was one of the people who thought the Kings would, I guess you could say, second wind tonight. Catch the second wind. A second wind team. And what I mean by that is they're going to start off a little bit groggy, which they did, like they're tired. And I come on here time and time again, I don't like moral victories at all. And I don't like excuses. However, it is tough. Grant, you've traveled, so you have firsthand experience. And you haven't even played on the team, but you've traveled with media, and you've probably felt tired just traveling with those back-to-backs before. So you know how that is. So yeah, if you would have asked me earlier, a second win team, and that was before I forgot about the Vince Carter whole situation going on. And that halftime was a little bit long, and I did feel like that was kind of going to take away from that momentum in a way. Not that we had a good momentum going into halftime.
You did have a momentum. You did have momentum. You were down by 11, and you cut it to 3 going in the half. You did have momentum.
Yeah, but what I mean is a short memory momentum. So kind of like the next shot mentality. So when you have a halftime that's 10, 15 minutes, it's like, okay, leave it in the past. And then you're sitting there and like you said, you're going cold and now it's kind of dwelling. We talked about this yesterday too. It's all psychological aspect. You're sitting there thinking about it, all your mistakes longer and longer rather than just getting right back to it and making up for your mistakes later on. But the Kings did look slower. You guys brought that out as a point. They looked 100% slower than they've ever looked, honestly, so far this season. And I also brought this up yesterday is these guys aren't competing just to compete because they're getting a paycheck. They're competing because they want to win a championship. Mike Brown said it. DeRozan said it. Fox wants to win. These guys are competitors. And my problem with that, and Grant, we've talked to where you've said, right now they're not good enough. And we have our differences on that. It's not about, in my opinion, being good enough. It's also a mindset thing. But at the same time, championship caliber teams don't lose this game.
They're not a championship caliber team. Stop with the talk. They're not a championship caliber team. We can't allow ourselves to go there. They're not.
Grant, I respect your opinion, and I respect the general public's opinion because I 100% think that they would think the same thing. There's more talent in the NBA. There's a lot of issues that the Kings have to figure out, but they're not going out there thinking that. You think Muhammad Ali?
I don't care what they're thinking. Our
ring?
job is not to think for the players. Our job is to analyze what they are, and they're not a championship caliber team. I don't give a damn what they think. It doesn't matter to me what they think. I have eyes. You have eyes. I look at the other teams in the West. I look at the Boston Celtics. They're not on that level. They're not.
Well, okay. That's like I said. I respect how you feel about that, but I know the greatest teams, the greatest athletes in society will tell you it's a mindset thing. It's not just about not being good enough.
If they have a mindset, do you think that if the Brooklyn Nets had a championship mindset, they would win the East?
I think they would have a better season than they're projected to.
Okay. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I like to deal in reality. And the reality is I think the Kings are a good team. I think they're a sure playoff team unless they have some injuries that are going to really affect them. I think they're clearly one of the best 8 teams in the Western Conference, but they're not a championship team. And I'm going to start with your point guard. Your point guard on this team is not a championship caliber point guard. He's good,
Yeah.
but he's not championship caliber point guard. In order to win a championship in the NBA, you need to have a stud at the point guard. De'Aaron is good, but he's not that. So I'm going to start right there.
Well, no, because the Celtics don't have a stud at the point guard. Neither did the
Who
Nuggets.
plays the point? Who plays in their backcourt?
You're telling me Drew Holiday is better than De'Aaron Fox?
I'll take Drew Holiday and a New York second on my team over De'Aaron Fox. Absolutely. He's the best two-way player in basketball, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, then I would not personally on my team.
But again, let's stay on track here. Jay, the Kings did not make the playoffs last year. Okay, they added DeMar DeRozan, who's a good player. Jay, the Kings right now are 3-3. They're not 5-1, or they're not undefeated like Oklahoma City. They're not like Phoenix. They're not like the Warriors. They have 3 losses. They don't have 0 losses or 1. They're 3-3. Now I understand there were 76 games left, and they could go on a tear because they have a really good roster, but they keep a record for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, Harrison Barnes was a good player. DeRozan is not a good player. He's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer. So that's where I disagree with that statement. I mean, when you bring in a Hall of Famer, you have a chance. He just scored 33 points tonight. Yeah, he had an off night in the beginning, but it's not about how you start the game. It's about how you finish the game. And these guys were able to muscle up energy besides the road trip that you talked about.
Against a one-win team.
And what's your point? They could have easily said, you know what, we're down by 20.
They lost to a team, Jay, that was 1-5.
And so did the Celtics. They lost to the Pacers. They were 1-5. Tyrese Halliburton scored 0 points in the second game of the season.
So the Celtics are no good, right?
And the Timberwolves just lost to the Spurs tonight. And the Bucks are 1-5. You're telling me the Bucks aren't? You're telling me the Bucks aren't a top 3 team in the East?
The Spurs are a much better team than the Raptors.
You're telling me the Bucks aren't a top 3 team in the East, and they're healthy right now, and they're 1-5. They're 1-5.
You know what? I'm not sold on the Bucks this year, but the Spurs are a much better team than the Raptors, Jay. Much better.
Okay, so why are they 1-5?
The Spurs are a much better team than the Raptors.
But that's my point. It happens. It's not just the Kings that it's happening.
Jay, you know what? I don't want to sit here and argue with you because I love you and you're a great caller. But you can't call the Kings a championship caliber team because you're losing credibility. They're not a championship caliber team, and I don't give a damn if every player in the locker room and every coach thinks they're going to win the world championship. That doesn't matter. The reality is they're not there yet. They're a good team. They're a playoff team, in my opinion, but they're not a championship caliber team. We got to stop with this talk.
Sorry, Ryno.
No, you're good. I appreciate the champion's mindset, but championship mindset's great. It's got to translate to championship basketball. It's the bottom line. And we're playing semantics because there's scheduling, there's opponent strength, and all that. I mean, we're so early in the season, but they're not a championship team. You can have a great mindset. I mean, Jay, you're not in their heads. Just because DeMar DeRozan's a Hall of Famer doesn't mean it brings a completely different mindset to the team.
I'll tell you right now, their bench alone is not championship caliber. That right there is their biggest nemesis right now. Yes. And Monty McNair better figure out a way to make the bench better, or else the Kings may not even make the playoffs. Yeah. Okay, their bench right now is a real problem. A real problem.
Well, I mean,
and by the way, the Spurs are 3-3. They're the same record as the Kings.
Yeah, they're also the same record as the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves are a much better team, and they lost to the Spurs.
Here's the biggest difference between the Timberwolves and the Spurs right now. The Timberwolves have a major piece that is no longer there, and they're incorporating 2 other big pieces, and that will take some time. Okay?
You can say the same for the Kings.
Yeah, but here's the big difference. The Kings didn't lose a major piece. They didn't lose anybody, really. They lost role players. They didn't lose a major piece. The Timberwolves lost an all-star. They didn't lose him. They traded an all-star. The Kings didn't trade an all-star to get DeMar DeRozan. Come on now.
That's very true, and I agree with that. but it is a major piece that you're adding to this team. And I'm like I said, I'm not at one for moral victories, but there's at the same time, it's like there's other teams that this is happening to. You know, it's not just the Kings. It's upsetting being a Kings fan.
The season's not even 2 weeks old yet.
Yeah.
The Kings are a good team, but their record is 3-3. Okay, let's not ignore that. They're 3-3. Are they better than I think they were last year? Yes, I do. I think they're a better team. It's a different style. But if the bench does not become better, this team is not going to really win a lot more than half their games because the schedule is too difficult in the West. Listen, after the Toronto game, look at who they play. And I'm not really sold on the Clippers, so I'm going to leave them alone. But here's their 4 games after their next 2 home games. Okay? At
the
Phoenix,
Raptors, right?
At Phoenix. Yeah, they go Toronto and the Clippers at home. Then at Phoenix, the next night at San Antonio, back home to take on Phoenix and Minnesota. So you're at Phoenix, at San Antonio, home Phoenix, home Minnesota. Let me tell you something. They're not winning a lot of these games if the bench doesn't start playing better. They're not beating those teams without a bench.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup
Jay,
for sure.
We appreciate you as always, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. And please don't take any offense. I'm just, like you guys know, I'm passionate. You know,
dude,
I love it, Jay. You're one of my favorite guys. You know that. I love you, man. You're great. But it's okay to agree to disagree.
Of course, yeah. Go ahead, Ryno.
I was going to say, I was having a little bit trouble following with all the linears. Well, this team beat this team. But no, dude, love the passion. Keep calling. Good job.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, my point is it starts up here. Like the greatest of all time. Like you ask Michael Jordan, you think he's a champion before he was a champion? Of course he did. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. Like these guys were nobody before they were champions. And it all started here is my point. That's the point I want to make. And that's the point I want to make to the fans. If there's something out there, too, you guys want to do and achieve, it all starts up here. You got to believe. That's it.
Don't disagree with you, brother. Good job.
Appreciate that. All right. Allow me a minute here, would you please?
Yes, please.
All right, because I'm going to do my rant right now. And our rant is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. You go to edhmotors.com, you'll get all the information you need. This is a long overdue new concept. Just 2 people trying to do something different and better. They offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments where they sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car and will sell pre-owned vehicles. Folks, they even will do this with your RV or boat. You'll take delivery at their auto lounge, which is beautiful in the El Dorado Hills Town Center. So what does that mean? You don't have to go to the dealership. You're not going to be dealing with high-pressured salespeople, general managers. You're not going to get pushed into the F&I office. This is, again, a great new concept. So go online and give David and Adam a call at edhmotors.com, edhmotors.com, automotive reimagined. Once again, that website is edhmotors.com. All right. So we're getting a lot of comments. And by the way, I love all the calls. It's freaking awesome. Can we just settle down a little bit? Can we just calm down? We're talking about 6 freaking games here. Okay. I love Jay, but we got to stop with the championship talk and the mindset. Okay. This team did not make the playoffs last year. They were a non-playoff team. Does that mean they're not going to make the playoffs this year? No, it doesn't mean that. But you are what your record says you are. Okay. They are 3-3. Their bench alone is not championship caliber. Their bench actually is a weak point on the team right now. It is going to hold them back, in my opinion, if the Trey Lyles of the world, the Doug McDermotts, and the other players that Mike Brown wants to go to don't start playing better. And Malik Monk, by the way, has not had a great start to this season, although that changed tonight, and I thought he was better last night. So I'm not worried about Malik because I know what he can do. Keon Ellis back on the bench after being a starter for the second half of last year. Got to be more consistent. The bench needs to get better. But I'm looking at the Western Conference right now. All right. Are you looking at the Western Conference standings? Here we go. Oklahoma City is 5-0. Golden State is 5-1. Phoenix is 4-1. The Lakers are 4-2. Okay. There are teams that are coming out of the gate in a hurry. And the Kings are 3-3. And they lost the game tonight that, quite frankly, in my opinion, they should have won, despite the fact that they were in Atlanta last night, despite the fact that it's a long flight. They lost to a team that entered play at 1-5, and they worked their ass off to get to overtime on a 22-9 run, and then in overtime they let it get away from them. They should have won the game tonight. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not down on the team. I think they're a playoff team this year if they remain healthy. I think they're a good team. I think they're clearly one of the top 8 teams in the West. But right now, guess what? They're not in the top 8 in the West. So hold your horses. Let's get through, 20 games, 25 games? And if the Kings have a great record after 25 or 30 games, and Jay wants to come on and use the word championship, I'll give him a little leeway. But not when you're 3-3. Stop it, would you please? And that's my rant for tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is called the macro view of the Western Conference. Grant, Buddy Hield's cooking, though.
I know. Buddy, you know what? Buddy, could this be like the perfect situation for him?
Chuck up a ton of threes? Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. What else does he have to do?
That's at his point in his career. He's closer to Doug McDermott than he is Steph Curry.
I mean, I'm looking at the Warriors winning all these games without Steph Curry, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, isn't that impressive to you?
Grant, they're number 1 in assist coming into tonight's game. They're moving the ball efficiently without as many turnovers as last year. They're middle of the pack in turnovers. It's very impressive. Super impressive.
I didn't think they would win without Curry. They beat the Pelicans twice. Now they go and they win against Houston 127-121. I mean, they outscore the Rockets in overtime 8-2. And I'm looking at the numbers here. You talk about Buddy Hield, 22 points, 9 of 14, played 32 minutes, made 6 of 10 from beyond the arc. Buddy, listen, I don't want to get carried away here because we're in the second week of the season. Buddy Hield's your 6th man of the year right now.
Yeah. You know who else? Andrew Wiggins playing good basketball the last couple games. He's been a big question mark for them for the last season and a half.
All right, let me give you some scores here. Miami is leading Washington. That game is in Mexico City, 95-73. 10 minutes left in the fourth. That's who the Kings play next. Denver at the break is on top of Utah, 65-56. Phoenix is trailing, they are leading Portland 74-58. 4 minutes left in the third. Again, Phoenix is leading the Blazers 74-58. The Celtics beat Charlotte. Memphis wins on the road again. They beat Philadelphia. Don't forget about the Memphis Grizzlies, boys and girls. You have Milwaukee. Cleveland stays undefeated. They beat the Bucks. And the Spurs, they win against Minnesota tonight, 113-103. So the Timberwolves, who beat Denver in a big game, lose the back-to-back. And the Clippers now, they lead the Thunder with 1:15 left in the half, 55-50.
Impressive win last night by the T-Wolves, by the way, going on that run at the end of the game to bring that one back. But
boy.
Whew. Western Conference, gear up, my friends. Let's go to Guy. Guy, what's up? You're on with Grant and Ryno. Guy, you there? Going once, going twice. We'll come back to you, Guy. Try to get that mic fixed up. Gamon, welcome in tonight, bud.
Hey, Gamon, how are you?
I'm exhausted after watching that, and I was frustrated, but I'm not frustrated anymore. Grant, I basically kind of went off of what you said because before this season started, I was really knocking Kevin Huerter a lot and Trey Lyles, and you told me, hey, 20 games in, and then we can kind of see where we're at. And also, too, that gave me some recourse as far as calling out Mike Brown on his rotations. I don't feel like he went deep enough on the bench tonight like he did with, like the Raptors did tonight. We don't have the bench. This game told me this. We don't have the bench to go playing extended play or minutes. We don't have that. Also, too, I want to apologize if Kevin Huerter, if you watched before the season started and I called you out, I think that if you played, not I think, I know that if you played tonight and you were healthy, we would have won this game and it would have never went into overtime. Trey Lyles, you're coming back from, whatever that you're going through. So there's that. But I'm not hitting the panic button. But I do want to say this, and I'm going to ask you this question, Grant. Where do we give Monte McNair credit? And then where do we need to kind of call him out as fans? Because our starting five and where we're at, getting us into the playoffs, not last year, but the year before, our starting five right now, I love our starting five. It's a little bit different. It's not quite your stereotypical starting five like how you want it, but our bench, I
think Monte McNair has done a very good job with this team, but I also feel if the Kings don't make the playoffs this year, he'll be unemployed after this season.
Gamon, I'll tell you where Monte McNair, and I'm not going to say it's a bad job, but if you want to point to a place where he could have done better, the last two trade deadlines.
Yes.
Easily. You look at what Dallas did at the trade deadline last year, put them into the NBA Finals. The year before that, the Lakers put them into the Western Conference Finals. Those were not big moves. Those were fringe moves, first round pick at most. And those are both teams the Kings were ahead of at the break.
Yep. And I'm not ready to speak negatively at all about the Kings' top pick, Devin Carter, because he hasn't played yet. But I think Monty missed out on the draft this year and not taking Dalton Connect of the Lakers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just, again, Grant, I'm just going to go with what you said, and you've been covering this game for so long, and you worked with front office execs and that type of thing, I'm sure, and then picking other analysis brain before post game. I'm going to give it 20 games. It is alarming. It is alarming how willing other teams are and how much room that they have to shoot the three-pointer on us. I mean, they're chucking it up whether they have the shooters or not. So I don't see our three-point defense getting better. If there is a trade deadline, people are probably going to want us to trade for a defensive player on the market. But really, we got to build the bench. He only went 8 deep, and that's just not enough to sustain 5 quarters of gameplay. Whereas you're looking at the Raptors, and they were kind of
he played to be official. He played 9, but McLaughlin only played 5. So for all intents and purposes, yes.
I apologize for that. Yeah,
no problem.
But looking at Davion Mitchell kind of secure that W wasn't very fun for me to watch. But also too, I didn't completely agree with what you wanted to say as far as your trade, as far as Drew Holiday and Fox. But then I kind of looked at it and I was like, how many minutes did Fox log? And then how many assists did he get? It's just, and we have where I feel like it's different this year for Fox than any other year is that he has a monster player at the inside game. He has a monster player who can just do those perimeter, 12-foot shots with DeRozan. And then he's got some guys who can kick it out to. There's 3 levels where he's got. So I don't know. Again, frustrating. I'm thinking, again, going to wait 20 games. I'm going to hop off here. But Ryan, Grant, let's not act like it's all been bad. At the halftime, when I was doing my super chat and we were talking about what we thought the win-loss was going to be, everybody on the panel, including the chat, was saying Kings were probably going to win by 3 or lose by 2 or this and the other. Ryan, you called it out that the Raptors were probably going to win. So either way, we knew this was going to be a squeaker. Either we're going to barely.
Ryan and I both had the Raptors winning
too.
This game at halftime. I had them winning by 2, and I think Ryno, you had them winning by 2 or 3, right?
3.
Yeah.
Right.
So we were both on it. We both picked the Raptors at halftime.
So I'm going to leave you guys with this question. What are things that you see so far, like 2 or 3 traits that you see that are great from this team, right? Stick to those strengths. They can build on that. And then some of the weaknesses, what do you see that you think can overcome? And then what are some things they absolutely dead in the water on
The best trait about this team right now, in my opinion, is they don't have to rely every night on just Fox and Sabonis as their starters, because you now have DeRozan. And so if you get a night, even like tonight when Fox didn't shoot the ball, well, you still were right there and had a chance to win the game. You know, you have Sabonis, who fouled out the other night, wasn't scoring a lot, but you had DeRozan adding 20 plus. The best trait of this team is if you're defending them, you can't just focus on one or two guys. They're going to be a headache for a lot of teams this year.
Ryan, what about you?
Grant summarized it for me. Their starting five is balanced when they have Kevin Huerter. It is balanced. So one of the traits that I really like, that I know the players, because they've talked about it after the last couple games, haven't heard anything from tonight. They've been playing with a desperation, and you could see that in Utah, even when they get losses. Timberwolves, you saw that. The Lakers, I put that on a little bit on the coaching. And the weakness, clearly the bench. I mean, Mike Brown is not believing in Trey Lyles right now. Only played 13 minutes, and I was calling out for Trey Lyles to get to the rim in the pregame show, and he did that tonight. But 13 minutes offensively, he's not doing much. Defensively, he's been there and doing okay.
Gamon, appreciate you very much. Good to hear you and see your face again. You have a great rest of the weekend.
Tired, Grant. Thank you so much.
Hey, Gamon, get rid of those Heat colors before next game.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Later, buddy.
Late. See you, man. It's been a good show tonight. We're getting a lot of good feedback. You know?
Yes. Peter. Okay. You know what, Peter? I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you here because you DM'd again, but it's only because you want to get one more word in. That is fine. Or is this you, Peter? Peter, is that you? Guy? All right. Peter, if you want another word, you got to call back. You're not on our screen.
Well, we're going to give you some final words. Listen, I'm not jumping off a rooftop because the Kings lost to a one-win team. There were still positives in this game. I still think the Kings are good. How good? That's why you play this season. But the bench to me has been very disappointing in the first 2 weeks of the season. They're very disappointing to me. And that has to improve. It has to improve.
So seeing that Trey Lyles did not play the majority of the preseason, how many games are you giving that as a sample size before you say, okay, the bench is not good?
I want to see 10 games from Trey Lyles. I think 10 games is enough to get your rhythm. I mean, I'm going to go and look at Kevin Huerter. He didn't play in the preseason, and he didn't play at all in the last 2 months of the season, and he looks good. He didn't look good the first game. He looked very rusty against Minnesota, but after that, he's looked really good, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Right. So why would I mean, but I'm going to be nice to Trey Lyles, and I'm going to give him 10 games. What about you?
Yeah, I think 10's the number. I liked what I saw tonight, the aggressiveness. He's just, Grant, last year, in some ways, Trey Lyles' role has changed with this second unit. Last year, it's, be a little bit tough, be our bully, and kind of spot up behind the three-point line. He can't do that anymore with this unit offensively. He's got to be able to contribute more unless Monty goes out and improves it. It's Baky. Sorry, Peter. It was Baky who wanted one final word. Baky, go ahead.
Because the elections are around the corner, I would say it like this: if that was some kind of debate tonight between two candidates, which candidate A is Grant and candidate B was Jay. The candidate A would crush the candidate B because he got all the things right in this time, and everything you said was right. And I would like to add something which is about the last season and why the Kings are not the championship team. And that's it, because you have another player who is a great one. He's the best in the team. But if you have another guy who is the best and you don't have anything better from all the others from the previous season, and you got the wrong bench as you already had, the bench from the Kings are now maybe in the top 5 from the bottom.
I'm going to summarize this. You can't win a championship if you don't make the playoffs. So make the playoffs first. Then after that, you can win a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Just my
500 is not going to make the playoffs in the West.
okay, we saw only 6 games, but I don't know what you two think about all the other players. But for me, if this trend continues, Fox is not better than last year, and all the other players are not better than last year. So if you want to become a championship team,
Yeah.
okay, you have DeRozan. He is worth of championship, but all the other players, you must be
Hey,
better.
I'm
Maybe
gonna give you a
20%.
timeout. I'm gonna lose my freaking mind if we don't change the topic here. I'm not talking about championship anymore with this team.
Me
I'm
too.
just not. And I understand you're bringing it up based on a call from Jay, but I'm done with this talk. We're not going there. I'm putting a stop to this. We're not using the word champion and the Sacramento
I'm with
Kings
you.
in the same sentence. We're not.
I'm with you.
Over.
I'm
Done.
with you 100%. I'm with you 100% because I know Jay is passionate. I'm passionate, already. But absolutely,
I don't drink that much, but I'm starting to think about I'm going to be drinking as soon as I get off this show tonight because this is no really. Everyone stop it. All right, I get your point. You backed up me. On that note, we're ending the show because I'm going to lose my freaking mind here. Thank you, Baky. I love you. You know that, but I'm not. We need to stop this nonsense.
Oh man, it's like Super Troopers.
Enjoy your NFL Sunday tomorrow, Ryan.
Yes, you too, Napes.
I will, and then we'll look forward to our next show when the Kings take on the Miami Heat, another early start, and we'll have the pregame, the halftime, and the postgame show as the Kings are in South Florida taking on the Miami Heat. All right. So I guess because of the start time, on Monday, I won't be able to talk NFL football, right? So we'll just do the Kings and the Heat show, right?
Yeah. Well, the start time 4:30.
Yeah, we'll just
pregame 3:45.
I'll do all my NFL talk on Tuesday, and then Wednesday with Sean Salisbury. All right, we'll just do that.
There you go. Priority really quick. Priority number 1 for the Kings in Miami: stay the hell away from that statue. Don't go near it. Don't even go on the concourse.
They won't know who it is anyway. Don't worry about it.
Very good. Enjoy your tomorrow, buddy.
Appreciate all the calls. Thank you, everyone. Please subscribe if you have not already done so. Give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. Appreciate all of you. Stay safe, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.